What's going on, everybody? This is Jordan with Conquer Trading and Investing, getting ready here for our live stream. It is Monday. Happy Monday. We got a lot to talk about. It's going to be a really, really good episode. Looking forward to sharing with you. We're going to start over here, right? New countries are adopting Bitcoin. That's the new narrative, and it's a big one. I don't think it's a narrative, though. That is happening. The new narrative is going to be Jack is able to convince Elon that Bitcoin incentivizes clean energy. Elon's going to be back on board, and mining has moved away from China, taking away the bear's biggest narrative. We're going to talk about all of that, but first we're going to focus in on the technicals. Looking at Bitcoin being rejected by resistance, I wanted you to take a look at what we've been doing on Twitter, on the Twitter recently. I've been showing you, whenever we talk about Bitcoin, I've been showing you two different chart examples, not one, but two. And there's a reason for it. I'm going to get into it right now as we look at both. The reason for it is because both trend lines are in play. We have over here in this photo, we have the most important trend line in crypto, cloned, providing resistance. And then right above it, we have this one over here, right? This is the first aggressive repair. We had the breakout, the retest, and the resumption off of it. And then we came back over the weekend and we tested that again. It held that support. It was holding by a thread and held by a thread. If we would have lost that little bit of support over here, we could have bled out for sure. We bounced, resumed off of it, and then now we're coming into this trend line over here. I just want you to see really quick that, because I'm going to get into why I'm using both in this particular moment, and then a slight adjustment, and we're going to see both actually line up. But this started not just on the 26th. I don't even know what today's date is, by the way. But this started on the 24th. Every time I showed you what was going on, dropping down to the 8-hour to get that precision, I'm showing you both views over here. And that went forward all the way to where we are. The last, then over here, you see that was as we came into that last trend line for that second retest. I told you it was a second retest. We resumed off of it until we got to yesterday and last night's. Last night's, about 11 hours ago, I pointed out, listen, we're now coming into a confluence of resistance. And that resistance should hold as resistance till it's broken, right? If we break above it, it's going to be an important repair. I just wanted you to see it really quickly. I wanted you to see that it was the confluence of resistance coming from two different angles. All right. So now as I look at that, I want you to say that, look, I'm not just trying to make something happen that's not there. Since the 24th, I've been showing you both views whenever we looked at what was going on. You could see on this view, it's clearly rejected by the resistance, and that's important. Getting above that, that's going to be an important repair. That's going to be a good sign. Over here, look, I want to adjust this. This is the most important trend line in crypto. By the way, if you're new here, welcome. And if you're not, welcome back. Looking forward to sharing with you, making sure that we stay on the right side of the most important trade that matters. And we do it from all different angles. We do it from all different angles. We're going to make sure no matter where you're coming from, that you're able to keep step and speed with us. I'm going to make sure going forward that my communication is as crystal clear as it can be. Take everyone with us. I have the most important trend line cloned over here, right? And I've kept this over here. I'm going to adjust this up slightly. You could see that the reason I have it where I have it is because of the touch here. And then over here, you can see it. Look, this is the place to put the line. But what's happening recently, we had this little spike up over here on the 10th of June. And then you could see again, overnight, we spiked up a little bit higher. So I always try to pay attention to what the market's paying attention to most recently, trying to fine tune what's going on. And you can see, okay, well, that makes sense. You can see the touch there. Oh, it happens to also be a touch there. It also lines up closer over here. Okay, you just want to fine tune it. No big deal. It's not as if that caused any type of error whatsoever. But now we have a cleaner line to look at. And by doing that also, both of these resistance, the confluence we were looking at, actually line up perfectly together. Okay, that's where we are. Now fast forward, or go back in time actually, before I did that. And this is what we were looking at. I want you to see how you're protected. If price broke above, that's a breakout if you're using the trend line that I had here. It's absolutely a breakout, right? Now, what happened is though, look, you can take breakouts, and in my opinion, you should take breakouts on Bitcoin during the bull market phase. Are we currently in the bull market phase? Yes, we're currently in the bull market phase according to my own definitions and believing that we're mid-cycle. Now, there's a difference between trading, right? And when I say that, I mean, in my opinion, nobody should be trading right now. There's no momentum. Things are looking not only muddy, the bears have control. The bears not only have control, the bears have had control for a while, right? It was May 14th, it's over a month ago, that all of a sudden it was like, okay, forget it, get neutral. And nothing has changed since. Nothing changes till we get back above this trend line over here. Now, nevertheless, if someone took this breakout, look, I get it, it's okay, but I want to definitely just clarify, this is not the time for trading in my opinion. I've been buying the dip, right? I made two spot entries mid-cycle over here after price came off 50%. I bought 39,000 and 33,500. Not trying to time it, not using TA, not using my technical analysis. Simply, and whenever I'm buying spot, is simply dollar cost averaging. It brought up my overall average price from just above 9,000 to just below 9,500. I don't time it, I just dollar cost average in. Now, if you are not looking to take the breakout over here, right, but we want to focus what's going on, do you see how that you're protected? That as you came in for the retest, right? It was a retest that never held the line. The retest came in below it. You're looking for the resumption off, and that's your entry signal, is the entry off. Now, if someone took the breakout, no one I know took the breakout, by the way. I'm not saying this because someone was like, I took the break. I'm saying this to try to be as clear as possible, to try to sharpen up all of our skills, and so that we go ahead and we are there to conquer the markets. All right. Now, if you took this breakout, I get it. I understand it. I just want you to clarify why I do take breakouts in the Bitcoin bull market, not just on Bitcoin, but also on altcoins. That's when the conditions warrant trading. Right now, there's a big X. There's no trading. There's a red flag. sharks are in the water, wait for things to be clearer. Things are clearer when we break outside this trend line over here, okay? Now, if you're playing this safe, you could also say, okay, well, there's the breakout. You're waiting for the retest. Well, so far, that's not looking good. You need to resume off to get the signal. There are some of you out there who are highly aggressive. You know, I see a lot of people buying Bitcoin. I see a lot of people selling Bitcoin. I see a lot of people buying Bitcoin. I see a lot of people selling Bitcoin. I see a lot of people buying Bitcoin. I see a lot of people selling Bitcoin. I see a lot of people getting chopped up by Bitcoin. Right? The whole idea is to walk away at the end of this bull market with either the same amount of Bitcoin that you started with and selling the top, or with more Bitcoin than you started with. By trying to force the market's hand over here, as price has been now for how long? Sideways, choppy. Like the bulls or the bears, there's not really a range to be playing. I guess if you're playing the range, but playing a range of, a tight range on Bitcoin, I think it's a hard way to do it. You could be setting yourself up for failure. You got to do what you got to do, and you're going to do what you're going to do. But just my own opinion is not the time to be trading. All right. So what else? Well, let me get that back up here. I messed it up. I'll get it back really quick. Let's bring this up because I want to focus on this now. I told you why. I explained it, right? And it's a clean look. It's what the market's paying attention to. Not only that, now I don't need to show you both every time. Now they both have the same exact resistance level, right? So pay attention to what the market's paying attention. By the way, if we get above this, right? And this could be, in a sense, this could be the trade that has no name over here. If in the next 8 hours we break out above there, it doesn't have to look like that. We could break above it, retest it, resume out. Getting above and repairing this trend line break over here is a good one for Bitcoin. It's an important one. That will be the first important repair that we've put in since this one. This one was a good one, right? When we broke above the trend line over here, it had been 5 weeks. When we broke above there, that was an important breakout, but it never held. This looked like a possible retest and a resumption off. No doubt about it. Did that make the higher high? Yeah, it made a higher high right over here. That's a resumption, right? If you're taking that signal, again, we're not trading, right? Or I don't think anyone should be trading right now. I have not given I'm ready to jump in, right? And if you think that you know better, then you know better. That's all good. But if you took that, it's the same thing. You're managing your risk, right? What does that mean? Well, before you take that trade, you know where your stop loss is. Some people use the very tight stop loss, something like this over here, right? I think I have magnet on or something. Let me take that off. Some people use the magnet. In this particular case, I would have used something like this, probably below the last swing low, right? Both of them are stopped out in this case. If you took this trade, again, just so everyone's clear, it's not the time to trade. Let's talk about it, though. Let's continue to make sure that we know what's going on. Regardless of what stop loss you used in this situation, it's the same risk. It's the same risk per trade, and whatever you're risking, to keep it easy, let's say it was 1% in this case. Your whole position side is depending on what your risk is, right? So just understand that before you get into any trade whatsoever, you can't enter the trade until you know where your stop loss is, because you can't set your position size. And make sure that you are always managing your risk. If you're not doing that, then you don't even stand the chance. There's no way you're going to walk away. You're going to actually lose your money. I am sure of that. All right, let's bring it out and back over here. Where are we looking at? We're waiting. Let's take it a little further. Everyone clear right now on what we're looking at here? Before I get into what's going on with the new narrative and what the new narrative is going to be and why I foresee that, I want to take a look at the beautiful lines that we started the episode off with over here. What's interesting about this, okay, is more than a few different things. And I think going forward, we'll spend a lot more time with it. If you all remember the video we did back in the first week of January, this was inspired by Patrick's work. This is Patrick's chart over here, right? Using the log scale and drawing the trend line resistance on them. But Jordan, you can't draw, trend lines on a log scale. That's not allowed. You can't do it. And if you're doing it, you have to use that, those slopey lines that people use. Okay. So listen, this was Patrick's work over here, right? And if you all remember, I gave it a go. In the description below, you can see Like this is Patrick's work. This is Will's chart. Will zoomed in. A comparison of the different angles between their works. My chart and Adam's chart, all posted down over here. And if you click on the link right over there, you'll see my chart over here. And this was how I did, or me doing the exercise where I believe the trend lines go, right? And so when I did this, added these colors, it was actually just using the same exact lines I have here, and just adding it like that. What's interesting and which gave me a little bit of confidence and why I'm even doing this in the first place is because of Scotty's work over here. Scotty sharing some really interesting work last week, and I was like, when I saw it, I was like, well, that's interesting. I'm gonna go ahead and grab some espresso and take a look, and that's exactly what I did. Now, by the way, Scotty's lines happen to match exactly my lines over here, so I felt good about that. I feel good about that. Scotty's work is pretty cool over here as he talks about, look, if you take a look at the breakout to the bull market, the technical breakout, and you add 104 weeks, you happen to have the bear market low. So far, it's happened twice. Who knows with this whole coded monetary supply thing, this coded money, let's see what happens. It happens again. You take the breakout, 104 weeks, it happened to be the bear market low right over here. Is it possible that happens again, at 104 weeks? Are we possibly looking at the projected bear market low being 100? Maybe, we'll see. What's more interesting, or what's also interesting, I should say, is that also, right, if you look at taking from that breakout of the bull market and go fast forward 43 weeks, that's when we had the breakout to escape velocity, right? In the previous two cycles. Does that happen again? We don't know. It's a model, it's a guide, it's something we want to be paying attention to, but that builds off of Brad's work. And by the way, this is that yellow line over here. This is what Scotty's referring to as that escape velocity that's happened 43 weeks in the previous two cycles, right? Now, if you remember Brad's work, this was a CTM training session, a phenomenal session. Brad presenting us work that, a look at we called it a new look at market cycle hyper awareness, Brad's new model. And we were looking at the same concept of escape velocity within each particular bull market. If you haven't seen this one yet, you have to watch it. Absolutely phenomenal work. What's interesting, it's actually the same work that Scotty's presenting, using the same exact premise, but it gives actually a line of escape velocity that has worked for each of the past cycles. Interesting stuff here is conquering the markets. Like that collective knowledge together just brings the absolute strength. I love this. I love Scotty's work over here. I'm going to keep working with it. I'm not looking for it to happen. And by the way, as I was talking with Scotty over the weekend, listen, like where you have the bull market breaking out and you start counting the 43 weeks, that's a little difficult. Like, how do we get that right? Because I actually have the bear market, breaking out over here in July. And that was the line that if I use on the daily time frame of the 8-hour with the precision, I had to break out the retest, the resumption. So how do we make that objective and less subjective? That's not the easy part, but that's why I say, listen, first of all, we have many different eyes working together, right? We have the CTM modeling team about to break out with an important video this week. We'll get into that later in the week, not today. We still need to get together for that Zoom call, get together, and then present to all of you, right? They'll have eyes on this for sure. Scotty's working on it. But instead of just it has to be 43 weeks, we have the yellow line over here, the escape velocity line. And getting above that, that's a more precise trigger, no matter how many weeks it takes. So that's something that we'll all be focused in on together. All right? What else? By the way, this line over here, it hasn't moved. This line that we came up is the same line I had here the whole time. All right. What else are we looking at as we get going this morning? I want to talk a little about what's going on. I started this off talking about right now the new narrative. Our countries are adopting Bitcoin. It's not really a narrative. It's happening. Everyone knows that. I think it's the most important thing that's happening in Bitcoin. I don't think in 2021 that many Bitcoiners expected the first country in the world, El Salvador, to make Bitcoin legal tender. I think that was a surprise. I think it's more of a surprise to see Paraguay looking ready to pass a law doing the same. And then we're seeing many other countries, really like, all right, having the central banks. That's happening in I forgot the country in North Africa. It's happening. That's real. A narrative is just a narrative, right? A narrative is gold 2.0, right? Something to build momentum off of. I mean, memes rule the world, so they're important, right? They're really important. Did you hear my voice just crack up there? That was funny. Let me take a sip of water. Let's get going over here. But nevertheless, let's take a look at what's going on over here. Everyone's familiar with that we're having July the 21st, a one-day summit, right? Designed to destigmatize Bitcoin. And it's a pretty good, we got Adam Back, Nick Carter presenting. This is being put on by Jack over at Square, right? Jack has got a lot of incentive here behind Bitcoin. Jack continues to build his business around Bitcoin and no other coin. Bitcoin all, right? ARK Investments, did you know they bought the dip last week? What did they buy? Another 1 million shares of Grayscale? I mean, don't quote me on that, but I think that's correct. Don't trust, verify. Bitcoin 101. If you hear me say something, don't take it as word. Make sure that you do your own diligence and research. And if you find something that's interesting, like go down the rabbit hole and start poking around and do more work, right? But you got Square, ARK, and I never heard of Paradigm. I never heard of them before. I want to know who they are. So they invest, from $1 million to $100 million in different crypto companies. They're behind everyone in the space. Whether you're looking at BlockFi, Chainalysis, Coinbase, I mean, they're behind everyone, right? So you got some big players here getting together, and they're putting on this one-day conference. What is that all about, right? So then you look a little bit further, Jack posts this. It's almost as if this is like orchestrated and played out. And maybe it was. There's a good chance it is, right? Jack goes ahead and posts this on Twitter, and then you see Elon pop up in there, and they start having a chat, and Jack's like, let's have a talk. And Elon's like, okay, let's do it. And then Kathy's like, ARK Investments behind this. Brilliant. Looking forward to the discussion. Did the three of them just orchestrate a way for Elon, as Jack talks about how the incentives behind Bitcoin really incentivize clean energy? Is Elon going to be at this conference and be like, okay, now I see it. It all makes sense. We're behind it. We're ready to go over here. And what would cause that? You have Willy Woo over here talking about in 2021, mining becomes, by the way, I'm so sorry I forget to ask you all the time. I'm so sorry. Could you please go ahead and smash the like button? It's really important here to support the work that I overdo, to get me fired up and to make sure that we stay on the right side over here of not only the trade, but of the flow. If you're watching this on the replay, you know how much I love you. Thanks for all the comments. Thanks for all the support. I know many of you are watching this on the replay. By the way, big shout out to Dean. Loved your note over the weekend. And big shout out to Chani at the same time. All right, listen. Mining becomes a geopolitical decision concerning monetary policy and the wealth of nations. What? Wait, what? In 2021, mining becomes a geopolitical decision concerning monetary policy and the wealth of nations. Those are a few words, but they're very, very powerful. What's going on, right? Let's take a look at what is going on. We saw, and we're all aware of the crackdown that's been coming out of China on miners, and only this time it seems real. We've seen that the hash drastically come off. By the way, if you want to go down a rabbit hole, if you want to see what's going on, if you want to see the elegance of Bitcoin right now, as a massive amount of hash power has come off, how the difficulty adjustment comes in over there, how the miners are relocating. This could not happen. This is absolutely eloquence. You want to research that on your own. That's not for me. What I'm talking about over here is giving you the picture of what's happening. China's cracking down. It's real. We're seeing the hash rate not only go west. If you've been following what I've been saying, I've been talking about, and a few months ago, you're going to see a lot of Bitcoin mining move west and towards Texas. You heard it here first, right? Now it's happening, and it's for real, right? You see, not only west, throughout the world, it's being distributed. Miners are picking up elsewhere as well. It's important because one of the greatest cases that the bears can make about Bitcoin, right, was that, listen, you have 50% or over 50% of the mining coming out of China. That sounds centralized, not decentralized. Now, as you see that hash power leaving China and the mining becoming, and now listen, we all know it's different in Bitcoin because the miners, we don't have big blocks here. The miners don't get to make the rules. It's those who run the nodes that get to make the rules. That's the everyone holding a gun to each other's head, all the people and all the participants in Bitcoin, keeping everyone else in check. Nevertheless, this was the argument the bears were using. That's running away from them. They're losing it very quickly. Why did this happen? By the way, if you want to find out, Preston has been really good about handling the conversation here about the difficulty adjustment, about the migration of hash power, really good stuff. You could find it off his feed, and then you just dig in and start going into comments and learn a lot about what's going on. I like doing it myself, right? There are never any coincidences in geopolitics. Things, when they happen for a reason, and sometimes those reasons are not readily apparent. What does that mean? How do we break down further? Why did China all of a sudden actually crack down versus miners? Do you not think that China wanted to have those miners, within their borders? Why would they move so easily and readily to let go of that? They are launching the digital yuan. Was it perhaps because at the time they're launching the digital yuan, they wanted the state crackdown? Could that have happened? Could that be the reason? Absolutely. It's definitely possible. Could it also be, as I pointed out here about 2.5 weeks ago, the week before the FOMC, I told you that China was going to be cracking down on inflationary pressures. You remember I told you that, and I said that's more of an important signal than what happens the following week out of the FOMC. By the way, we were the first ones here to call the FOMC's bluff. Everyone else fell for it. Everyone else, called for the markets to crash, the correction come in. We stayed on the right side with that calm and that poise. We'll talk about that. Actually, today, I think I really, really, really want to present to you a stock market outlook. I think I'm going to do an upload talking about what the current state of the indices, what I believe is going to happen next. And I think that's going to be something really to look forward to. I'll do that as an upload. What we're talking about over here, though, right? The coordinated between China, the USA. Is it possible that as China was getting ready here or watching, inflationary pressures really become concerning and they wanted to do something about it, that, look, all these central bank actions have been coordinated forever. Since 2008, they've been highly coordinated. They don't act alone, they act together, right? Whether that was when everyone decided to weaken the Japanese yen in 2013, they're coordinated actions, right? Is it possible that China did not want the corruption, the stigmata of Bitcoin mining in its area, or were they really more worried about the rising inflation? Did they need help from the FOMC to kind of rein in those pressures a little bit? You saw that verbal intervention taking place out of the FOMC. After all, they're not worried about it. They think it's transitory. It's transitory. It's not so transitory at all, is it? Listen, I'm going to leave this here because I don't have the flow behind me. But what we're looking at, or what it seems that we are looking at, is the U.S. does want mining inside the U.S., that the U.S. fully supports Bitcoin. And you can see right now as the pieces are being this is a pawn being moved here, a pawn being moved there. And then we're getting ready over here now for the narrative to change. July the 21st is going to be upon us soon. And what we're going to see over here is Jack sit down with Elon, with Kathy, and all of a sudden Elon's going to get fully on board now that the mining is moving out of China onto U.S. soil and dispersed throughout. I think this is going to be people are looking for a narrative that are going to propel Bitcoin to new all-time highs. If you're looking for a narrative, there's not going to be one much stronger. Oh, what I wanted to share with you was kind of important over here. You could see like Mr. Wonderful. I mean, listen, whatever you think of Mr. Wonderful, that's for you. Whatever you think of Mark Cuban, that's for you. I don't think it's so wonderful trying to like, control Bitcoin. I know a lot of people that are new to the space. They're always like, it happens over and over again. They like discovered Bitcoin because the guy forever has been against Bitcoin. All of a sudden, in 2021, he wakes up to Bitcoin, and then he's like, he thinks he's going to change it. He thinks there's something wrong with it, and he's going to be the guy that changes it. That's not so wonderful. Nevertheless, what he's saying, you have a lot of pensions. You have a lot of institutional money. From his own estimates, there's about $1 trillion of institutional money that wants to come in this instant into Bitcoin. By the way, that's not $1 trillion of market cap. If $1 trillion was to enter the space, the amount of where price would be trading would be well beyond $1 trillion market cap. It would probably be closer to that. I can't do the math. I would just be talking like just nonsense, but way higher, I could say. Now, what he's saying is if the institutions get the go ahead that this is actually, coming from something that is, largely clean energy and incentivizing clean energy, then they're able to do that a lot easier. I don't know. He knows that space a lot more than I do. Could the pieces be, being set up over here to provide the new narrative that is going to push and propel Bitcoin to new all-time highs? It certainly seems like it. Now, I follow what's happening on the charts, right? And when I say that, I mean, right now we're under pressure. The bears have control. We're into resistance. And I told you over the weekend, listen, until you break above the resistance is expected to hold, right? Once it no longer resists, someone said in the comments, then it's no longer resistance. But we're still at this inflection point where the bears could make a move, no question about it. Not only that, we held on by a thread over the weekend. If we would have lost that, we're looking at lower lows. Things are not looking so good over here yet. When I talk about a model, when I talk about the Fourier cycle, it's hard to deny. Every 210,000 blocks, we see a supply shock. The miner's reward is cut in half. It sends a shock that sets off the bull market cycle, right? If you are not, giving credit to the halving, I think that you're so far out of the game that everything else you say I can't really listen to. It's the most important thing in Bitcoin's adoption is the halving reward. Why? Because it causes this mania phase that causes people to take notice. Like Satoshi, he thought about this. There's a reason he had it every 210,000 blocks. And he knew that it was going to set off a mania. He knew that price attracts people, right? And then that sets off, a lot of speculation, a lot of mania, which always ends badly and sets off the bear market. People start building, build. A lot more people came into the space. A lot more people get to learn about Bitcoin aside from the price. They learn about the freedoms it offers, the fair and just monetary policy. They start questioning what's going on. They start looking into the central banking system. They start looking into the fractional reserve system. They say, hey, wait, this is oppressive. This causes the greatest injustice we ever seen in the world. Wait, I really want to support Bitcoin. Then they start really getting behind Bitcoin. They start spreading the word, and then comes the next bull market, and this thing keeps happening over and over again. It's not that the model causes the price to do things. It's not like what comes first, the chicken or the egg. It's not because there's a model that the price reacts according to it. There's a model because it is reflecting what occurs off of the supply shock followed by human behavior. That's why there's a model. And that model is not like, okay, this happens on this and this day. I said it before in the video, when we looked at the, 3 ways to trade the Bitcoin bull market and setting up all the past videos, but way before the halving, I said, look, it's going to rhyme. It's not going to be exact, but it's going to rhyme. And so far, it's rhymed, look at the work that the year of the bull, right? Misconfig has been doing has been absolutely phenomenal over here. And it continues to rhyme in every way, in every fashion. Why I'm talking about that is because of this. right? I don't know if you saw this video. I hope you did. It wasn't too long ago, on May the 10th. On May the 10th, the video titled was Watch It. Alt Season 1 is close to a blow off top, causing Ethereum correction and Bitcoin to run. Huh. So in this video over here, right, I say within a week, it looks like Ethereum could top. Why would I do that? And how could I possibly do that? By the way, it's the same guy who told you over a year in advance that Ethereum was going to lead in the bull market, that I told you exactly when the alt season was going to begin. And if you remember the videos I started putting out here late November and December, I was saying to you, okay, now it's beginning. I told you a year before it happened, 6 months in advance, and then as it happened, and then the same week that we saw the blow off top for alt season 1, I put out a video. I said, watch this week, we could see the blow off top, and I explained why, right? How could I have done that without a model? It's impossible. The only way that I was able to do that is by consulting a model. It's the same way I kept saying to you, something's not right here, something's wrong when it came to Bitcoin, and my timing was off on that mid-cycle shakeout. It was off, but at the same time, I kept saying something's not right here. It doesn't line up. And it was because of consulting the model where alt season was peaking, because alt season hadn't peaked yet. Listen, I know a lot of people in this moment are like, weary of consulting models. I want to get it in your head. Two things. The model is not an exact to the day this is going to happen. It's what we said from the very, very beginning, right? It's going to rhyme. It's not going to be exact. But there's no way possible by following price alone that we could be on the side of the trade we're being with the awareness that we have. You don't buy Bitcoin and position in fully in the middle of a bear market during the accumulation stage if you don't understand that the halving's coming up and you're front running the halving, right? You don't stay fully positioned as you see an asset come up 50% in a week or two, into resistance, unless you understand this part of cycle. You could see price anyway. Let's bring it back. I want to actually talk about a couple of things. I don't want to talk about the equity markets, only because I really want to give them their own time and space in the video today. I do want to take a look at the 10-year with you really quick, right? And look, a lot of people are calling a lot of things after the FOMC. What we did was say, listen, it's too soon to say anything. We don't see any breakdowns in the equity markets. And as far as the whole inflation deflationary debate, it's too soon for us to make any type of pivot here, right? And when I say pivot, we all said, calling the bottom over here when the Fed acted, right, that it was going to be inflationary. Is it possible as the Fed begins tapering talks that changes? Yeah, but we're watching price, and price right now continues to be in the middle of this channel of this bull flag. I am waiting either for the breakout or for the breakdown to make up my mind. A lot of people calling it very early. We'll see if they're right or not. I know I will be on the right side. The DXY over here, right? What are we looking at? Let's check in. Dollar's up a little bit. Dollar's a little bit bid today. The FX sessions that we did last week on Tuesday and Thursday, absolute fire. Absolute fire. Some people who aren't even into the currency markets now understand, wow, this is why I need to pay attention, because the only way I'm going to be able to trade Bitcoin and cryptocurrency and or in the market is by watching what's going on over here. Some beautiful stuff. What I'm watching right here on the dollar, by the way, right? Let me zoom out really quick and show you what we're watching. We're watching, the DXY in a strong downtrend, now coming up towards resistance, right? We look to sell resistance in downtrends. This is a downtrend. We're looking for the resistance to hold, right? Now, we have this area over here, this confluence of my red line, this horizontal resistance, and then we have the trend line here of this inverse head and shoulders. That's the neckline, that's the left shoulder, that's the head, that's the right shoulder. A breakout above here is going to have us really strong. We're going to change our position where we're looking for a bullish outcome. But at the same time, we're going to dig in maybe even sooner. I'm going to do my own session once again, as I did the first week of January on the DXY, to give you that perspective that we need. We're at this important level. All right, now we're looking for resistance to hold. Here, resistance held, but then we saw this, this bullish pattern developing. When I say bullish pattern, I don't know if you want to call that, let me come down to the 8-hour. If you just want to call that a downward sloping channel, if you want to call it a bull flag, whatever, but we've broken out of it, to the upside. All right, so what does that mean? Well, it means that we're still neutral. We're below the resistance in a downtrend. We're looking for that resistance to hold. Once we broke Will's trend line over here, connecting over here, the March top in the DXY that was tested once, then we went, like the sell pressure's alleviated. We're neutral in this whole area over here, and that won't change, right? When I say new, it's up to here. We're neutral in this whole area, in this whole zone. Do not get chopped up. Do not get chopped down. For the sell pressure to return, we need to break back below this. I should probably move this line of support up a little bit, right? A little bit, but I'm not going to do that right now. If we break into that trend line, I'll start focusing in on it, right? And that's where we are on the dollar. Good look at it. Gold and silver, let me take a quick look at them. We gave a very good look last week, but we're in no man's land right now. A lot of people, when they saw price come off, they wanted to buy the dip so soon, but it's got to prove itself, and until it does, we're staying neutral. That rolling over and taking out that support, that could be ugly. Will that happen if yields break out to the upside? Yeah, but I don't know if yields are going to break out to the upside or not. You have to wait. You have to pick your spots. Same thing on silver over here. We're still between that support and resistance. There's no edge over here, right? Maybe breaking out above here, that, if you want to be aggressive, maybe. I like it above here still right now. I think soon, or maybe we'll be able to add one of our trend lines for correction coming out of it. I think you're better off staying on the side. Listen, when we lined it up, it was time to attack. It's not the time to attack right now. A lot of you want to be in the market all the time. You don't need to be in the market all the time. Actually, by keeping yourself out of the market until when it's time to be in the market, your results are going to improve drastically. And then once you learn how to push your trades, then it's game over. You got it. Someone wanted to look at oil, so I want to look at oil this morning. It's been a while. Let me go ahead and clean up my chart. When I say clean up my chart, I'm going to clean up the whole chart because it's ugly and I want to start over. So hold on one second. Let me just erase all this stuff. So if you haven't yet hit the like button, maybe because you're lazy, maybe because you're waiting for something to be shared that you wanted to go ahead and smash the like button. In this moment right over, this is your moment. This is your chance. Get over to the like button, blow it up, smash the like button, help support what we're doing over here. Definitely greatly appreciate it. What's going on in oil right now? I'm trying to get a look. I'm trying to get a look right now, right? So, I mean, beautiful. What's beautiful? Look at the trend line break, right? Look at the trend line break, breakout, retest into the line. All right, hold on one second. I want you all to know what's going on. When I drew in the trend line, it was off the top peak over here, right? And then I could see where it's testing, right? Testing over here. And then I clone it and I put it to the outside touches. Notice once we break out to the outside, we come back in and we test what? The outside resistance holding as support, right? Resuming off. Now, conquering the markets, right? A lot of people see oil trading above 70, and what happens? They get really attracted to oil. They want to buy oil. People like to buy things that are rising, right? People like to chase after price. You're going to see a lot of people buy Bitcoin at $65,000. A lot of people are going to buy Bitcoin at no one wants it at 30,000. Why? Well, maybe it goes down to 20,000, right? I mean, I think everyone sees that it's going to $100,000, but they don't want to buy it at 30,000. Maybe it goes down to 20,000. They don't want to buy it at they're going to want to buy it at 65,000. Same thing with oil over here. We don't buy things that are rising into resistance, horizontal resistance right over here, a little bit above us in this area around 76.40, right? We buy things after the breakout, the retest, and the resumption. We don't buy things that are overbought. This is overbought into resistance, right? Could it keep going higher? Yeah, it could keep going higher, but now's not the time at all. And that's that. So is this, what do we look for a breakdown? If we want to really look into oil, we need the help of Giles to mark up a chart for us so that we could get the awareness that we need. You know, I'm not going to get, and I'll do that over here with the S&P 500 and some precision off Giles work. I'm going to do that and send it up as an afternoon upload. But right now, you know, breakout, retest, resumption, CTM attacks. We don't attack over here. So just stand aside. All right, everyone. Good session. I'm going to play some honeymoon vocals over here, see if there's any questions that we want to tie this session up with. If not, solid session. Good thing the mic was on. Yes, Steve. Well, hold on. We'll go back to it. All right, we'll come back to that honeymoon vocals in 1 second. Really, some couple of good questions to tie this up with. First, with Dean, what about buying strength? We always want to buy strength, right? So, Dean, what do I mean by that? I mean, listen, right now, the whole reason that we don't want to like be trading Bitcoin is because Bitcoin is not seeing strength; it's seeing weakness. You know, with that in mind, by the way, like I'm buying the dip, and I bought the dip over here, right? That's my spot on leveraged Bitcoin, not trading, buying this dip over here, looking to either sell the top or beyond that, right? What do I mean by, well, maybe I won't sell if they go ahead and they change capital gains. Maybe I'll hold on to that Bitcoin and not sell it. And then in the coming bear market low, borrow against it. We'll talk about that in the future. But right now, as far as strength, what about buying strength, right? Bitcoin is not showing strength. It's showing weakness. Strength will be when we get momentum with us, getting above the most important trend line in crypto. Now, listen, one of the core principles of CTM is trading strength versus weakness. You're always looking to find out what's strong, and that's what you're looking to trade with. Now, oil is strong, but oil right now is also overbought, right? The time to buy oil was after you had the breakout retest resumption. If you want to buy oil, you have to wait now into some type of like reset here for price to come in and test some support, not as it's up over here, right? Not if it's overextended. Exchanges being shut down, is that a sign of what's to come, right? Listen, all as I know, or I believe I know, that Ontario shut down Binance. Listen, you're seeing countries right now trying to like have exchanges underneath their own roof. Canada has a lot of ETFs that are in play on their public exchanges. Of course, they want people to be using those exchanges, right? The US and Canada are notorious inside of the currency markets for super tight regulations compared to the rest of the world. So the rest of the world that offers a lot more freedom, they're probably going to let you have a lot more choices, right? In the US, they have Binance USA. They don't want you using Binance for whatever, they have Binance USA. Is that a sign of more things to come? Well, I think that, rightfully so. When I say rightfully so, I don't know if it's right as in just, but of course, countries are going to want to control what they could control. It's what countries do, right? So I don't think that's anything concerning, though. So there we go. The bottom of the left. We like that better than the bottom right. Is that correct for everyone? This is good. This is more good. All right. Thanks for that tip over there. And the DXY. Does Bitcoin follow the DXY? Hard Forky, I remember back in 2018, I did a lot of work about the correlation between the DXY and Bitcoin, and there's a tight correlation. There's a really tight correlation about, now, ultimately, what I came to understand is that Bitcoin, during its 4-year cycle, at particular instances, is going to break all correlations. So I'm more focused on what Bitcoin's doing, and that's what. But yeah, there's a tight correlation between the DXY and what happens with Bitcoin. And if we see, for example, the DXY break out over here, when I said over here, over there, if we see the DXY break out over here, and then get back above these trend lines over here, this trend line's resistance, and start making a bigger move, then I would imagine that we actually do see diminishing returns on Bitcoin this cycle, and that would look like something like $160,000, $200,000. Now, is that going to happen, or is Bitcoin going to be rejected in this resistance and roll over, and are we going to see a much weaker dollar? And if that happens, is that adding massive fuel to what we look at? Probably. There's a correlation there. At the same time, it's not the only correlation in town. But I'm going to do some really tight work on the DXY and get that out to everyone as well. That will be its own separate upload as well. Good session, everyone. Lots of likes for the amount of people in here. That's awesome. By the way, 90,000 subscribers to CTM and I. Really astonishing. Great. I love it. People are saying, look, you should have more subscribers. I don't really care about that. I care about those that are here. That's what's important to me. I love what we do. I'm not going to be out there trying to gain followers by trying to lead people astray, right? It's not the flavor of the week over here. You're not going to see it's not the flavor of the week. It's what's most important. That's what we do. That's who we are. Everyone, at what point does the falling hash rate it never becomes a concern for me. Right now, you're seeing Bitcoin blocks are processing a little bit slower, right? I think it's every 22 minutes, right? Massive shock to the system. But we're about to get a difficulty adjustment. That's the brilliance of Bitcoin. And once we get that difficulty adjustment, Bitcoin network is going to do what the Bitcoin network was meant to do. It's not a problem. By the way, if enough hash comes offline and I get to mine Bitcoin with some laptops on CPUs, well, I don't mind that. That would be fantastic. The blocks will still be being processed, only I'll get to participate a little bit more. I have no problem with that, but that's not a concern whatsoever. At least if anyone knows of it being a concern, well, let's start a Twitter thread and let me learn about it. And please send me to some sources that I should be knowing about. But from my understanding, it's a thing of beauty. It's not something to worry about. Thank you very much. A beautiful way to start off the week together. Listen, let's finish out honeymoon over here, and then I'll see you all later. All right? Have a beautiful day. Thank you. And no. So listen, this is personal. This is not really this is not really CTM over here, but I want to talk about it. I don't talk about the way that I execute things, for good reason. But either which way, listen, I'm in Mexico as a tourist. I don't have residency in Mexico. I'm not looking to get citizenship in Mexico. So I'm just there as a tourist. Therefore, I pay taxes as if I live in the U.S. Right? I didn't go to Mexico to try to and by the way, it would only be the first $75,000 or $80,000. You don't have to pay income on. if you lived abroad. It's only whatever it is. I don't do it, so I don't have the exact amount, nor am I like any type of tax advisor or accountant. But nevertheless, I went to Mexico for family, not for taxes. You know, so and don't go to Mexico. Like it's really nice living in America. If you want to go to the grocery store, I mean, everything's available to you. You have no idea. It's like Disneyland for me, yeah, or anyone else living in Latin America. The first thing we want to do when we visit the States is go to the grocery store. It's better than Disneyland. Don't do it for taxes. Anyway, but do it for love if you're going to do it. All right, everyone. Let's go ahead. Let's finish this out and say goodbye. There is a whisper, there is a narrative that Bitcoin can't get to 100,000 until we have 100 subs. So go ahead and like the video, share the video, let us get up to 100,000 subs so that Bitcoin can do its thing. Everyone, have a beautiful day. May God bless you. Thank you for being a blessing in my life. I'll talk to you later.